Raver-tight.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 20th of November 2016. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Woo.
And Robert Kemp.
I'm a raven. I'm throwing some shapes.
You are a raven, or are you a raven? Or are you a raven?
I'm a raven. Car. Car.
Car?
Car! It's like the deadpan version of bird noise. Car!
Oh, I see. I thought you were saying you're a raven car.
Raven car. I'm from House Raven Car. It's what it's called when someone graffitis the sign.
House Raven Car?
Raven Car. It was Ravenclaw, but then someone cut the L out. Raven
I
Car.
see. Harry Potter house.
There we go. Geek
I always
reference
said
out
that
the way.
wrong. Like, I don't know why I always said that wrong, but I always pronounced it stupidly, and I don't know why.
Ravenclaw?
Yeah, it's clearly Raven after the bird,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Why would anyone say Raven? That's dumb.
I thought it was Ravenclaw.
It is.
Yeah. Like, pronounced rightly as Ravenclaw.
It is, I'm sure.
So it's not Ravenclaw.
No.
What point are you making?
I'm saying, I think I used to say Ravenclaw when it's clearly Ravenclaw, and I don't know why. Clearly I'm insane.
You're Raven. You're a mad Raven.
I'm not raving about it.
Where you going, mate? I'm going to that Rav down the road. That warehouse. It's gonna be Banjin.
Banjin? Oh, I see. I got it now. Oh, dear. Banjin hardcore tunes.
Absolutely. Ton is. What's going on?
I don't know. It's hard to make sentences when every single word is badly pronounced on purpose. It's hard to understand what they mean. Not a lot. What's going on with you guys? What's going on, Zeg?
Nothing interesting at all.
Nothing?
Well,
No tales from the house?
apart from the continuing tales, as I keep saying, where it's like, finally the kitchen might get finished this week.
That seems to have been going on for a long time.
Well, yeah, but nothing's actually been happening for that long time. Like I said at the time, where it's like, he can only start work on the kitchen in mid-November. It's like, well, why don't you get someone else to do it then? Rather than waiting an entire month and a half.
Because plumbers in winter are actually kind of difficult to get hold of.
Not even a plumber.
No, it's not a plumber.
I guess it's I don't know, you'd probably call it a carpenter, I guess. Like the person putting in the surfaces and shit. He's not actually doing the sink.
I'd say a woodsman, but no, he'd probably just go and kill a bear or something.
Definitely not a woodsman.
Not a woodsman. A man of wood? Or is that a man made out of wood?
I mean, a woodsman could be a man made out of wood too,
Like,
but it's not.
That'd be a woodman, not a woodsman.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Maybe a man made out of woods.
What? A bit of wood from multiple different woods.
Yeah, different kinds of woods.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm a woodsman. We've got some 100-acre in here, and then we've got some dark, and maybe some lost.
Some lost wood.
Some lost woods. Yeah.
Is he? Yeah, makes sense.
Do. Oh shit, that's not the Lost Wood song, is it? What is the Lost Wood song?
That's Saria's song. It is that song, isn't it?
Is it that song?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay. Is your carpenter going to be whistling that? He's definitely a woodsman.
Yes, clearly.
Some kind of wood elf. Or whatever they are in Kokiri.
Yeah. It's never really clear quite what they are, I suppose. It's not actually 100% clear what Link is with his ears.
Well, Link's a Kokiri, presumably. In that game, at least.
Yeah.
But not in Wind Waker, presumably. Does he have pointy ears in Wind Waker? I guess he does.
He always
They
has
all
pointy
do.
ears. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's just islanders. Maybe they're descendants of the Kokiri, those islanders. They must be. They seem a bit more kind of less elfy and more kind of normally in Wind Waker.
Can't remember. Does Zelda have pointy ears as well?
Yeah, pretty sure. Maybe they all do, just in Hylians, just in general.
Pointy-eared Hylians.
I actually don't know.
Yeah, because you couldn't really. Well, it depends which one's the start of the timeline, I suppose. If you were to look at Twilight Princess, it's like, where do you come from? You come from a different village, whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, it's dumb trying to put Zelda into any kind of timeline. Apart from, obviously, Wind Waker, which does it explicitly, but...
Does it? I don't know that.
Well, Wind Waker is definitely set after Ocarina, right? Because the world is flooded. It's the same world that's... Right.
Interesting.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
For quite an old game.
yeah.
And also, that's a spoiler for like halfway through the game, I guess, not the end of the game.
It's the mid-twist.
Is that right, Zeg?
Yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, I don't think there are any explicit connections. Like, obviously, Majora's Mask is immediately after Ocarina. But I don't think it's really very worth worrying about. Like, this new one, I don't think has any connections that I can tell.
Not yet, anyway.
Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure they'll throw another backwards song in there somewhere.
Probably. I hope there is some kind of musical thing. I know it's kind of played out now, but I mean, it was already a bit dumb in Wind Waker when they had the wand of wind, or whatever it was.
The wind wand.
The wind wand.
Well, I don't know. Was it dumber in Twilight Princess with the wolf howl?
Yeah. I mean, that you can't quite replicate that Ocarina thing, can you?
I guess not. Yeah, I mean, I think the wolf howl only had like 3 tones, so you're like, woo.
Yeah, I don't know what they'll do. I guess they're focusing on other mechanics, so maybe they won't have that.
Woo. There's news about that while we're on the topic. Yeah,
I'm still excited about the Switch. I've got various bits of Switch. I was just listening to Bombcast. They were talking about the price potentially. Do you hear that?
Was it? Well, that's
already got like some Canadian retailer accidentally.
Oh, has it?
It was a UK retailer that they got. It was Game, and but the thing is, it could be rubbish. But it sounded cheap. You know.
Wait. Let me take a guess. Before you announce it.
Right.
I reckon it's going to be $299 or £299, I suppose. So yeah, £250 to £299.
So this rumor was $200 for the base SKU and $250 with a game.
Ooh, cheap.
Yeah, and of course, don't know if that's accurate, but yeah.
I suppose they must have to, like, or I guess some retailers, given that it's March, must have to be in the loop about that now, right?
I assume so, but
plan financials, I guess.
Yeah, you'd think if they were guessing at the price, they'd put it higher and then lower it down if you pre-order it or whatever. But who knows? That does sound suspicious, but good news.
Yeah, that's not
if true.
Wait, wasn't the 3DS more expensive than that at one point?
3DS is like $180 or something, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that fits, but I guess it's not that dissimilar in some ways. I mean, obviously it is architecturally, but in terms of, well, I don't know. I still
don't exactly know what their plan is with 3DS. Like, are they going to? Because there's no indication at this point that 3DS is actually not going to be a thing.
I think it'll carry on for as long as it can. But the news that I heard this week that excited me was that there's basically going to be a version of Sun and Moon for Switch. There
is, yes.
Called Stars.
Which is not that exciting, though, really.
Well, it is for me, because I get to play it. I don't really want to buy a 3DS, so that would be cool if I can play it on the
it depends whether or not they've done any like meaningful updates to it, or if it is just the 3DS game running in HD. Or...
Well, apparently, yeah, but it will have higher res assets, etc. It won't be the same assets.
So there's some effort going into it.
Yeah,
it'll run better anyway, so that'll be helpful.
And they are. It's not. It'll be another year or something, so they will carry on working on it. So I think it will be different. It will be like a standard third Pokemon game. You know how they do that.
Yeah.
but this time on a different platform with extra updates and stuff.
Grand
But
Theft
it- so
Auto
it will
5
be like-
HD edition, basically.
Sorry.
Grand Theft Auto 5 HD edition.
Yeah, but they do that with every
Pokemon.
Pokemon generation. They have like a third one, which is
Yeah,
like,
the
just
awkward
like
yellow.
yellow and crystal and whatever it is. And
Yeah.
blah. Yeah, so they'll do that with these ones, but it will be on Switch, which would be cool. The only thing I'm worried about with Switch is what's coming out, because Zelda doesn't sound like it's going to hit the
Nope.
launch.
That was going to be the new segue, but yeah, they've sort of announced that that's. And
Which
it's
is
not
fine.
really a delay because they never really told us when it was coming out in the first
No.
place. But
But
yeah,
if you compare it with the Wii and the Twilight Princess situation, that at least did come out on launch,
yeah,
even though it was late for the GameCube.
which then brings it back into question: is like, is there might they drop the Wii U version?
I don't
being
think
a
they
thing?
can.
I think that would be a real bad move for them, or a real
I
bad
doubt they'd
image.
do that. I don't think they'd do that.
Because it's like they've got to reward these loyally patient Wii U owners with a game at some point.
Probably the ones, if you're that loyal, you've probably bought a Switch at that point. But yeah,
Probably, yeah.
yeah. But I think, they have to. But I mean, more interesting is, what is the launch game? And is it a Mario game? And what the hell is it? I mean,
Yeah, the rumors are that Mario game is quite far along internally. So there's a good chance that might be the game. That might be
It is like the only game they have left at this point. Really.
yeah.
but if this is
Well,
a main
apart from, like, the
sequence
port of-
Mario game to like launch a console, maybe this is the biggest deal ever, and they've been keeping it under wraps.
Mm.
Maybe this is, they've realized from two consoles not having a big Mario launch game, and that's why they're not saying anything about it.
Well, Cube
No,
didn't
I'm-
launch with a Mario game either,
Oh, again, yeah, that didn't do that well.
and Wii didn't launch with a Mario game.
I mean,
I'm
we
still
did well
thinking that-
because of
Bowling.
people.
No.
Yeah,
I'm still thinking that Mario game's just going to be like another 3D world style of thing.
the
The world map will still be that same poopy world map. And
I hope you're wrong, but you might be right.
I don't know. I get the impression they might go back to the sort of hub world thing.
I mean, we can
A
only
sort,
hope.
of, a sort of sunshiny, not necessarily with flood or anything like that, but that sort of structure.
But
Unless
how
they're going for
great?
something wildly different. Open world Mario. Here we go.
I mean, how great would that proposition be if you had like a main sequence Mario game followed up by a Zelda game and Pokemon?
Hmm.
On
And
something
then
that's-
maybe a mainline F-Zero game?
I mean, yeah. I don't.
Could this be the best launch ever?
the only other thing that there's been rumors about being at launches, or maybe soon after launch, I'm not sure whether they said specifically launch, is apparently there's going to be a new Mario RPG, but it's a crossover with Rabbids. So enjoy
What?
that.
What the fuck?
What? Disapprove.
Yep, very disapproved.
I thought I sort of assumed the Rabbids were no longer a thing.
Yes. And I
They failed to turn them into minions.
can't have imagined how like Nintendo agreed to that thing, where it's just like, let's mash this completely like weird other brand into the Mario universe for their parodies.
Well, what RPG is it being based on? Is it like the Mario? Is it Bros? Is it Paper? Is it
Yeah.
like literally Super Mario RPG and Rabbids?
Well, they haven't really said anything yet, but I imagine it will just be like a 3D thing. There's been suggestions that it might be a tactical RPG, like maybe even a
Oh.
grid-based RPG, which would be
Ooh.
extremely weird for the Rabbids brand, because the
Oh.
Rabbids brand isn't exactly like known for complexity.
No, the Rabbids brand is full of minigames and minigames only.
Yeah.
This sounds mysterious.
And maybe something to do with a trolley. I seem to remember there was some sort of game about Rabbids in a trolley.
Well, that was the one where you had to like scoop up all the junk.
Right.
It's like a vacuum, it was sort of almost like Luigi's Mansion-ish. Like
Luigi's
suck up
trolley.
the things into the trolley and then take it to your spaceship or whatever the fuck it was. I don't remember.
Pick Rabbids. Pick Pikmin bids.
Yeah.
Trolley Pikmin bids.
But
We'll
that just
workshop
seems
it.
like another weird crossover that's like it can't possibly be good. And they've already ruined the Mario RPG idea in concept with the last two Paper Mario games.
Bros games are still alright.
There hasn't been one for quite a long time though.
Paper Jam Bros.
The Paper Jam Bros wasn't actually that good compared to the previous one of that.
It's still alright. It didn't review badly. I can't say we played it, but, you know. You
Dream
put
Team
that.
Bros was all right, and that was worse than the previous ones.
Inside Bowser, whatever it was.
Yeah, Inside Story was supposedly maybe the best of those, although that was the one that I didn't play. But the original, like whatever that was called, the one with the Bean Kingdom and all that stuff, that was decent.
Oh yeah, I remember the beans. I remember the ridiculous strong bros or something that you met.
Yes.
Strong bros.
Just all been downhill from Mario RPG games.
Mm. All I want to know is how they're going to make selling if they are porting like Splatoon and Mario Kart with maybe some extras in it. You know, are they going to make that a compelling offer, or like are they going to be like at a re-release price, or are they going to be full priced? I mean, knowing Nintendo, they'll be full priced, but
yeah,
I'd quite like to see that if they're just putting out Mario Kart with a bit more, Mario Kart 8.5. Then I don't really want to pay full price for another Mario Kart game that I've sort of already got. Same with Splatoon. Like you need to have some compelling content in there.
I think it will be that way though. So, which is probably a shame. Well,
see, at least with Mario Kart, they can put it out and be like, "Here's Mario Kart and the DLC." But Splatoon didn't have paid for DLC.
Maybe it will be Splatoon 2, but I don't know about Mario Kart though. It'd be a quick sequel though. You know,
Yeah,
just Splatoon 1.5.
Championship Edition. Yeah, I don't know. Splatoon is an interesting one for me because, as I say, I reckon there's potentially a bit more work to be done to make Splatoon onto a different platform, especially if they don't use gyro aiming and without the second screen map. And you know, there's things they probably need to change about the about making the switch.
Indeed.
So Dan's making the switch. Is Zach making the switch? If it
The
came
Switch
out at a
to
£200 price point.
I already said I was probably going to get it
All right.
when it was first announced.
My first Nintendo console since the GameCube.
Oh, I didn't realise we all had GameCubes.
Oh, totally.
Huh.
Why? Who did you think didn't have a GameCube?
No, I thought you didn't have one. I thought you had.
No, I totally had one.
Ah, okay.
It was black.
Yeah, I had a black one. It came with a Zelda disc that had.
Oh yeah, of course you did. Because I've got your discs.
Right. Okay.
Stupid Rob. Got you a copy of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3.
Oh yeah.
We did try very, very briefly playing Crystal Chronicles in full player. I mean, we won't need to talk about this in the what you've been playing section, but because it sort of didn't work. We got past the first level and then it crashed, losing all our progress. And it takes quite a long time to get going in that game. Like lots of text and lots of little people wandering around, and then introductions to your family and their ridiculous names.
I wonder if the Switch will have ad hoc networked. How would that work? You know, if
in theory, for them, because it can apparently just wirelessly multiplayer between a number of consoles. They only ever showed 2, but there's definitely been people suggesting that there's more than 2. So you totally could just do Crystal Chronicles. Just bring 4 of them together, and then everyone would have their own screen and everything.
But you'd have one of them would have to go onto the TV though if you wanted to.
Well, yeah, but then the person who's doing that presumably at their house would have an actual controller.
Right, but then you don't have the touchscreen, I guess. But
no, they won't. They won't. They definitely won't do that again. They'll consider that a failed experiment. And they did sort of try and make another Crystal Chronicles game on 3DS, but it was bad.
Well, it's because it didn't actually have the.
We didn't have the TV thing. Yeah, but it was still a co-op handheld game, and I think that in a weird way, Nintendo have shown that they're still okay with that idea, like Metroid.
Co-op handheld games don't actually that doesn't work anywhere apart from Japan.
Yeah, but they keep trying.
But if you've already got a home console that can wirelessly sync up with each other, you might as well do that kind of thing on that.
But then I've always thought, why didn't they do that already, right? Because like they could have done that with 3DS and Wii U or Wii even. Now when everything went wireless, it's like, so well, why didn't you think about this, guys? Why didn't you just what are you doing? Where's my Crystal Chronicles Wii?
I bet it was because the 3DS data transfer rate was probably terrible. Even if you were doing like the, system link through whatever wireless it had to transfer Pokemon or whatever, it was probably not very quick.
Yeah, I don't know. It was probably only like G-rated Wi-Fi or whatever, probably. But even the original DS had Wi-Fi. They could have done it then. If Space Team can do it,
that's not much of a game.
it's the game. Space Team. Should we get back on to other news if we've got no random to talk about? I don't think I've got any random. I've been up north for a lot, so I don't really have many stories. I saw films.
You were away yesterday or something? Or today?
I've just been busy doing stuff, seeing people, things like that. Okay. Nothing particularly fancy.
You've seen films?
I've seen films.
Mm-hmm.
I had nothing else to do while I was travelling for work, so there's a cinema I could go to, and I abused my Cineworld card. And ended up seeing The Accountant, the most thrillingly titled film ever made.
Inspiring title.
Oh, it's a beaut. It's Ben Affleck being an autistic accountant who murders people.
That's exactly what accountants do.
Yeah. I thought it was all right, but it's getting a bit panned in typical fashion, and it does. It's one of those films where when you go back and think about how some of it panned out, you're just like, oh yeah, that is pretty stupid. But at the time, it's quite enjoyable.
It's probably all right. It's got Anna Kendrick. Can't help but fancy Anna Kendrick. So
yeah, she's fine. She's not actually in it as much as I thought. It's not like one of those. They do some interesting things with the storyline. They weren't afraid to sort of like, all right, she's no longer important to the story, so she's not in the story anymore. And it's like I kind of like that sometimes. It's like you don't have to have a story where like the protagonist and the female. That's how it usually goes, right?
The female,
and the protagonist and the female stay together for the entire film for no good reason. It's like they just decided, well, there's no good reason, so she's not in it anymore.
Mm.
Okay, it feels a bit more natural, I suppose. Yeah, it's weird. It's like, in many respects, it actually does the autism thing kind of right and kind of wrong at the same time, and that it's sort of portraying people with autism can kick ass, and which is a positive thing. But then equally, it's like that's all they do. They kick ass. It's like, okay, right.
Yeah, it's kind of weird when people paint it as some kind of weird superpower, like even in Rain Man or whatever. It's like it's not a superpower.
Yeah, and they do play the social stuff quite well in this. Actually, I'm a bit of a fan of Ben Affleck. He does good stuff when he wants to.
Yeah, he's all right.
I'm not sure about Batman, but
Well, but he'll do his own Batfleck film. We can judge that.
Yeah.
Away from Zack Snyder.
Depends who it's made by, I guess. Yeah.
Well, isn't he exec producing it or something?
I used to like Zack Snyder.
No, Ben Affleck.
Oh, Affleck. Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
he's good at that.
Yeah. I never really liked Snyder. I thought the Watchmen film was all right in places. Like, I think it was relatively faithful.
Yeah, I like Watchmen. I like Watchmen quite a bit.
But otherwise, I'm not a 300 fan or whatever.
Oh. Yeah. Is that sort of age of Snyder I'm all right with. I like 300. I like Watchmen. Quite like Sucker Punch. It's but then everything after that, it's been kind of poop. Quite a lot of poop, in fact.
Have you seen any other movies?
And I also saw Arrival.
Right, I want to see that.
It's really good.
Don't spoil that shit.
It's really good.
Okay.
It pays off very well.
All right, maybe I'll see that this week.
Very, very slow build and sort of feels quite by the numbers for quite some time, but let it work. Let it work on you. It's got some tricks.
I saw the Marvel Doctor Strange, whatever.
Oh yes,
the latest origin story.
It's basically Iron Man.
Yeah, it is. It's another origin story, and it's a decent one. It's been a long time since Iron Man.
It's like 10 years, maybe.
10 years, yeah. So
it's an okay one, is what I'd say, because it's not as good as Iron Man's, and it follows most of the same story beats, except in a weird way, his Cumberbatch's character is quite a lot less likable.
Yeah, he's even more dickish in the beginning.
Yeah,
than Tony Stark, whatever. But Tony Stark was more cocky in the beginning of Iron Man, and also like morally bankrupt because he was like selling weapons, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas Doctor Strange is just more of a dick.
Yeah, I guess, but it's too similar in many ways up until all the mysticism starts kicking in.
Yeah,
and then it becomes more of a film. But even then, there's still some.
Also, there's a portal. We need to close the portal. There's a bad stuff's coming through a portal.
Oh yeah.
Like, how many of them have done that? Almost all of them. The Avengers.
Well, the Avengers is the main one.
At least the way they closed the portal was like a bit clever. But it's still the same thing again.
Yeah, a little bit. It does get to the point where it's like, well, he's already kind of ridiculously powerful now, right? Is it like, where does this go?
It doesn't have to go anywhere, really.
No, I guess not. That is in a way, that's Marvel's problem at the moment, that nothing feels like it's really going anywhere. And it's like, yeah, there's the whole Thanos and the Infinity Stone thing coming up, but it's just, and that's not too far away now in theory. But even so, it's like you just watched another one that is somewhat inconclusive and leads on to other things, and I know that's the hook, and that's why they keep doing it like this. But like sometimes I just want it to be a little more like complete feeling.
I did get a little bit of in the kind of famous Inception rip-off scenes where where Tilda Swinton is fighting all the crazy goons and stuff while all the cities are bending. I definitely a couple of times got a bit of a Bayonetta vibe, which I appreciated.
Okay, yeah.
Did you get that? Yeah,
I didn't at the time, but I can see what you mean. There's something about the symbology, I guess. And the graphic style of how the magic is. Yeah, I can see that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Obviously, she wasn't like literally smacking them up with her hair, but
I found it a little odd in places like style choices. It's like they made all magic like yellow and sparky.
Yeah.
Apart from this one universe's, the dark universe's magic, which is a bit weird, and also the time magic is in a different color.
Like
but
green or something.
In theory, they're like, aren't they like harnessing the power of all these different universes to make their magic and stuff? And it's like, oh, these different universes are the same apart from these other two.
I mean, it was very simplified. But comics are that way. Like they have to spell it out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you drawing the power from these other galaxies or universes or whatever? And are you starving these universes in the process? Are you being complete bastards to these other people?
It's hard to tell, apart from like Chechenuijafor or whatever. I don't know how you pronounce his name.
I really don't know.
His character was like morally like, she's destroyed the power from the dark dimension, and that's bad. It doesn't really explain why it's bad. It does seem to enable someone whose spine was shattered to walk, which seems good. But he's like, no, you're gonna pay for that somehow, unspecifically, because it's bad for some reason.
This is what I mean. Because
the dimension is dark. It's dark, man. Dark means bad.
It does feel like there's something missing, and maybe that's not intentional. Maybe we don't know.
It's just super vague.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, marvelous. There'll be Star Wars before long.
Yeah.
Which
I'm actually getting pretty hyped about that.
Still sort of excited by. Do you see
it's looking better and better.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
I'm not normally hyped about a Star Wars film, to be honest. I wasn't that hype about the last one.
Well, this won't be as good as The Force Awakens, but it'd be good.
I don't know. This might actually be more my speed on it.
Maybe.
The sort of smaller. Well, I'm hoping it's a smaller scale tale, and I kind of get into those.
That's kind of the idea, but I guess it's got Darth Vader in, so it can't be that small.
No, I guess not.
But yeah. That should be good.
I'm
Do you see
considerably less hype about the Han Solo film.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I was quite curious that they cast that guy as Han Solo. I think he was good in the things I've seen him in, and he looks a bit like him, I guess. So who
is that guy?
Well, I'd seen him in that recent Coen Brothers film about the golden age of Hollywood, whose name I've forgotten.
Hail Caesar.
Yeah, Hail Caesar.
That was a good film.
Yeah, and he's the American cowboy guy who's like, would that it were a sample.
Right, would that
it was a simple.
Would that it was a simple.
That guy.
Would that it were.
It were. Yeah, he was good. And I think he could pull it off probably. But then this week I saw that they cast Emilia Clarke. And she, I mean, much as I love Dany or whatever, Game of Thrones, she can't really act. Like, I find her quite embarrassing. Have you ever seen her in anything other than Game of Thrones? Oh, you don't even watch Game of Thrones?
I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I don't know who you're talking about.
Okay, so this is Khaleesi or whatever from Game of Thrones.
Oh, that name rings a bell.
It just means queen. She played Sarah Connor in the latest crappy Terminator film.
Oh, okay.
Crappily.
I know who you are now.
So I don't know. That doesn't bode well, I don't think. But never mind.
And I hear they've finished shooting on Justice League, so there's one film we cannot watch.
Did you see the Ghost in the Shell trailer?
No, I saw some tweets going on about it, but I haven't seen it.
All right,
I saw some goddamn YouTube adverts for it where Taylor Swift has the worst microphone ever.
What? Taylor Swift?
What's Taylor Swift got to do with Ghost in the Shell?
I have no idea, because I don't know anything about the film at all, but she's there. And talking into an incredibly bad mic. It's just like another YouTube advert where it's just like, it's the worst quality sound possible. Like sometimes YouTube adverts get, and it's just like, why is this still continuing to happen? Some kind of size limit or something. Where you're like, oh, we have to compress this audio down to shit.
Are you sure you know the difference between Taylor Swift and like Scarlett Johansson?
She says her name. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, fine.
Have you been infected by the T-Swizzle virus?
The Tay-Tays. Case of the Tay-Tays. Okay, fine. I might have to Google that because that sounds mental.
It does.
Taylor Swift.
I didn't watch any of the advert because, 5 seconds and then skip.
Of course.
No, I cannot find anything. No, I don't think that's a thing.
Videos and then you'll see.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Or maybe
turn off
you
my
won't.
ad blocker for a bit.
Yeah.
Hard to tell how long that's going to stick around.
I'll just have to try and watch ads on YouTube on the Xbox, I guess. Can't avoid the ads there. Hi, I'm Taylor Swift, and I endorse this movie. I don't know what accent I'm doing.
It's the wrong one.
What the hell was that?
I'm Taylor Swift.
Who lives in a house like
It's like it's American Lloyd Grossman.
This cake is really realistic. It's a show. It's a cake show. Show cake. Cake show.
That's the Vic and Bob one.
Yeah, yeah. You're just a freaky cake maker, and I ain't got time for you.
I always did love the way he just hovered around that set in that
just
sketch.
with that bell tolling. Dong. That was so good. Right. Any other video game news? What's this? EVE Online Ascension launches. Any word about that, Zeg?
Yes. I mean, you call it EVE Online Ascension. It's just a patch that happens to be timed with the free-to-play thing.
Right.
Not actually like a different version of EVE or anything.
It's just a patch.
Well, that's what happens whenever they do a story update or something, isn't it? They give it a name and say we're in the Ascension era, and it's
pretty much any patch that has significant amounts of content. I don't even know if this patch does have significant amounts of content. I think there's some kind of small-ish world event starting, maybe at the start of a major event starting up. But mainly it's just the free-to-play stuff and then some random other additional updates to stuff.
Random updates.
So you were telling me about like how they're trying to like curb the free-to-play thing a little bit to stop because what's interesting me is not so much that what the influx of new players is, but how does it affect those that are already in the game and how they ult and how they potentially abuse the system to create minions and what are they doing? What's happening? How is that panning out? Is it not yet? Is it too early?
Well, yeah, obviously too early. It's only been out like 2 days. Won't see any market shifts just yet. But still, I guess it technically makes it easier to do some stuff with ults because they've made it so you can't log in a more than one account on the same computer, basically, whether they're free or paid. Well, no, wait. I think you can still multi-box with paid accounts, but you can't have a free account and a paid account at the same time on the same computer. And presumably you can't have multiple free accounts on the same computer either.
Yeah, one would assume. So you'd need to build a home network for running free accounts.
Yes, but I don't know. There's still other things that you could easily use actual alt accounts for free now. Just having people in different parts of the universe that you can just log into without having to use jump clones, I suppose.
I guess so you could have a little look. I wonder if this will like mess up espionage or something like that. Like the free-to-play
guy worse than it already was.
Okay.
It'll probably be annoying for all the corporations who have to like even more hardcore vet all the free players now, because it's even less like commitment to try and make a spy alt.
They probably just won't allow free players.
Probably.
Like the bigger ones, anyway.
Or do the classic thing with like having a sub corporation for where the free players start off until they become trusted enough to graduate to the real corporation or something.
You've been promoted. You're now a goon. Is that still right? Are they still the Goon Squad?
Of course.
Goon Swarm.
Why would they ever change their name?
Is something awful still a thing? Is it all on 4chan now? Or what?
Well, I heard 4chan's dying.
Right.
Like it's running out of
you
money.
You can't say 4chan's dying.
No,
it's constantly dying.
They just won the US election. I don't know what.
No, but it's literally like the guy that runs the servers can't afford to keep them going.
I'm sure that won't be a problem.
Mood.
Yeah.
Like 2 people will donate 50 quid, that'll be it for a year. Yeah. Don't think it has that much service press somehow.
I don't know, 4chan must get quite a bit of traffic.
I think if there was actually a problem, it would be sorted out.
Yeah, maybe. Someone would step in, maybe, to...
There's enough betards.
We need ads or a donation system. But then is that against what that site's for? Anyway, there was a thing about it recently.
Right. What else?
What else is going on in news? Let's talk. We talked about the Switch, so let's go. Well, Wii U is ending production, of course, because they wouldn't want to make that. That's not really news. That's sort of expected, I guess. So it's somewhat surprising that it was officially still in production all the way up until this point, in a way. Like, how many of them are they making each month? Because whatever that number is, it's probably too much. PS4 Pro happened.
Yeah, as in, you can buy one.
You can buy one. It is out.
It is moderately quicker.
In some cases.
And it makes some games that haven't been patched yet slower, lol.
So even games that have been patched in some cases run slower. Like Skyrim.
I don't know why
Skyrim always has to be in the news.
I don't know why people are surprised by this, other than, well, obviously Sony should have sorted it out, but the fact that some games run slower, on faster hardware because they haven't been optimized for it does make sense.
Yeah,
what doesn't make sense is why they didn't tell them a bit earlier so they could get their patches out in time.
Yeah, or just hold back the patch until it's ready. I don't think anyone would have minded too much.
Yeah. Anyway. It doesn't really matter for the vast majority of people. I think everything will be sorted unless you are buying it to play Deus Ex, and then you're kind of
and then you got severe problems. Apparently, like Rise of the Tomb Raider is fairly problematic. Although that game does give you the option of whether you want to go for enhanced quality or enhanced frame rate. Like it gives you a choice between the two.
Interesting.
Also, apparently, Last of Us Remastered can't keep up. It's because the remastered version ran at 60 on PS4, but I think with the resolution upscale, it doesn't hold 60 on PS4. Mantis Burn is one of the few games that actually can run at 4K native, and apparently suffers. Like it's not quite what they didn't hit their targets with it. Although that's a new game that's been specifically designed for Pro, and they still didn't hit their targets. And I'm assuming I'm not sure what version of Skyrim they mean. I'm assuming it has to be the remastered one, right? You can't get regular Skyrim on a PS4. But I'm assuming that's up-resing itself internally and causing itself a frame rate problem. But I don't think anyone will ever be surprised about Skyrim having performance problems, no matter what it's running on.
Yeah, it's just the engine.
Yeah. So it's. I don't know if it's a good look at the moment. It doesn't sound like there's a great deal of point in getting a Pro if you're thinking of doing an upgrade. But then it doesn't sound like there's a great deal of point of getting the Pro right now if you don't have a PS4.
Why? Because it's cheaper to get a normal one?
Because your mileage isn't really you're not gonna benefit from it now, right? Like if you're going to buy a console, sure, buy the Pro if you can.
That's what I mean.
But because in future you will benefit from it. Exactly. But right now there's not a great deal of point.
No, agreed. But if you were going to buy a PS4 anyway, you might as well get the Pro.
You might as well, yeah.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, what's going to be most interesting is the Project Scorpio stuff, but it doesn't sound like it's hot on the heels, does it? Seems like it's quite a long way away.
Well, Scorpio was never intended to come out at this point in time. It was holiday next year.
Holiday next year.
So we've got a whole year to wait for Scorpio action.
And from the sounds of that might be like...
That's a big deal. That's like the numbers they were throwing around are equivalent to an NVIDIA 1080, for instance.
Right.
So that's a reasonable jump in console power, but it's not too. In theory, that's not too outside the realms of what my machine can do. But who knows? Like once they've optimized it and things like that for a console, you can normally squeeze more power out of it than you can in a PC.
I wouldn't have thought it'd be faster than your PC, but it'll be massively faster than the Xbox One first gen.
Currently is, yeah.
Yeah. So which will be weird. So it's like a console in a way. I mean, it's whereas PS4 Pro makes more sense to me. It's like a modest bump in like specs, and the way they're approaching it makes some sense. Even though right now it does make sense to buy it, especially if you already have PS4. Whereas the Scorpio seems like if you had an Xbox One, you'd want to upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is weird. It's like how is that not a new console? Anyway, I suppose we'll find out.
But then Xbone beat PS4 to the market, didn't it? Or did they both come out at the same time? I thought Xbone was a little early. Yeah. Well, maybe that might have only been a month. Thinking about it.
Yeah, they were really close.
But yeah, I guess these things have been out a while now. If you think about it, they've had a 3-year cycle now.
I guess.
And it's like would it be? I'm trying to think in my head. I've got this probably totally wrong. It'll probably be 4 years. By the time Scorpio comes out, so in a way, it is a new console.
Yeah,
like it's or there's enough time perhaps to put it in the new console bracket, and it's which makes the fact that they're going big a bit more appealing, I guess. But we still don't know if it will be an expensive box. Like it probably will be a pretty expensive box.
Yeah.
Maybe it will deserve its Pro moniker more than the PS4 does.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, the Pro kind of makes it sound is kind of a good name because it makes it sound like the same thing, but just a bit one better for professionals or whatever.
Maybe, except the concept of a professional PlayStation is a bit mental anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb. Yeah. Pro. I guess it's by analogy with like MacBook Pro, but that's meant to be
pro gaming, man.
Yeah.
Tournament, Call of Duty players.
Yep.
So Yo the Pro. What else we got? Golden Joystick Awards happened, which is like it actually made like news in places like normal news shows like now start talking about golden joysticks.
Okay.
And Overwatch cleaned up pretty good. They got 5 awards in total.
Okay.
Although some of the categories seem to be somewhat overlapping in Overwatch's realm. Like it got Best Original IP, effectively. It's got Best Original Game. Some of these have got terrible names, but it's like Best Multiplayer and Best Competitive Game. And it's like, is that not the same thing? I mean, I guess it's subtly different. I mean, a multiplayer game could be co-op, but...
kind of the same.
Yeah, it's a little odd. So it got both of those. Was it Witcher 3 was back getting loads of awards again, like this year, because of the Blood and Wine DLC pack.
Right, that everyone loved.
But yeah, because it's so good that it picked up another 4 awards for the studio. Although one of them was Studio of the Year, and another one was for the performance of for the voice actor of Geralt. So 2 technical ones, I suppose. 2 for the actual quality of the game, and 2 for, I don't know, Studio of the Year. It's a bit of a weird one. But Stardew Valley, special mention to Stardew Valley, picking up Best Breakthrough Game, which I guess is unexpected goodness. Or Best Indie, I suppose, maybe. Sure. What is a breakthrough? And Dark Souls 3 was the Game of the Year.
I mean, fair, I guess.
I'm not sure it picked up anything anywhere else. It's like, yeah, Overwatch is amazing. Yeah, Blood and Wine, Dark Souls. just sneaks it in there.
What was our goddamn Game of the Year again? Rocket League.
Yeah, from last year, it was Rocket League with Metal Gear being a close second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were they eligible for that award then in the Golden Joysticks? Like Metal Gear?
I guess that would have been included in last year's joysticks.
Right. So I guess Dark Souls 3 is this year.
Is this year, yeah.
So they're doing their Game of the Year award now. Is that how it works?
Effectively, yeah. I think they must. Anything that comes out in December, I guess, gets included for next year's. I would assume.
But that must be quite a bit of stuff. Anyway.
Well, yeah. This year's is a little busy, isn't it? December. We've got we've got Final Fantasy out shortly. It might actually already be out. I'm not sure. And we've also got Last Guardian's the big December release.
Well, maybe.
It's still on track, apparently.
Well, I meant it's bigness, not whether it will come out.
Oh, right, fair enough. Yeah, the hype train has started. Like, there's new trailers and stuff. It's looking all right, actually. It's looking all right. But just all right. I guess it's the problem with Team Eco games is I guess it's hard to look at them and be like, oh no, this looks like it'll be the most amazing thing ever, and it's like because you can't really get that from a trailer. It's like it's their experience games. It's like, how does it make you feel? I guess like Journey, I suppose. They're sort of in that similar bracket in a weird way. That's all I've really got for news, other than sort of mentions of the 2s have come out. So Dishonored 2 came out, and people say it's actually doing reasonably well. I think in the reviews I've been reading that it's actually this is all right. Like it's Dishonored, but a little bit better. And of course, Watch Dogs 2.
Same with Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah, the same, but a little bit better.
Watch Dogs 2 sounds like it kind of lightened up in a good way.
Yeah, like it's, but in a weird way, they've created a tone. Like from what I've been reading, they've created a tonal problem in a different way to the first game. Like the first game had a tonal problem because no one liked Aiden Pierce, and perhaps it was a bit heavy and a bit dark. And and that people didn't really get on with that. But there was still some goofy stuff happening in the world which didn't gel. I guess it, in some ways it did a poor GTA feel.
I mean, even GTA 5 is guilty of that.
Yeah, but to a lesser degree than Watch Dogs potentially. Whereas this one goes like the complete other way in that everyone seems like all the main cast are all likable characters, and there's a lot of jokes flying around. There's a lot of, perhaps some of them a bit dated now, but that whole geek culture thing is brought to the fore in good and likable ways, except you're still kind of murdering dudes and can drive trucks into people and things like that and cause giant explosions if you really want. If you want to, it's still a video game thing, and it flies completely in the face of the characterization they're trying to make.
I don't see why you need to be shooting people and stuff in that game.
No, I think it would have been smarter to have not gone that route. I mean, like, there's still the emphasis on high stealth, and you can still knock people out, but apparently, actually, in many cases, it's just easier to just murder all the dudes and then wait for them to forget that you ever existed. And apparently, the AI is fairly exploitable.
All right, you just waste them. Okay.
Yeah. So Watch Dogs 2, it's all right. I don't feel so bad about us missing that because I assume none of us are going to play either of those. But the reaction is they're good games, but they're probably not going to be great games.
We'll see how we go. They'll probably turn up in a sale at some point.
Well, I do still have a copy of Watch Dogs 1 to play at some point.
Yeah. I think skipping to 2 makes sense.
Maybe. I kind of want to give it a go because it doesn't look like it plays like a terrible game. It just might be a bit tonally annoying, like I said. I will give them a well, and the PC port apparently was quite bad, so I don't know, maybe I now have power enough to run it well.
It's just overpowered.
Yeah. So I still don't think I'm ready for another Assassin's Creed, if you know what I mean. I don't think I've gone to Black Flag yet, because that's the next on my list. Well, the last in my Assassin's Creed list, to be fair, that I own. And but maybe I'll sidetrack to Watch Dogs. I don't know. That's all maybe next year stuff. Pick up old games time.
The post Steam sale period.
Yeah. Because I've still got Thumper to play that I really want to play before Game of the Year, and I'm still, even though Titanfall 2 is apparently selling really badly on PC, like really badly, especially the PC version, I still kind of want to pick up that version of the game and play it rather than a console version.
Definitely. I'm going to get that for sure. Some point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, with Titanfall, yeah. I just need probably next year when I upgrade my PC somewhere around March or something.
That might be impetus enough for me.
It'll be a while. I don't know. Yeah, because I want to play the single player for a start.
Yeah.
But yeah,
sounds so interesting.
I need to. I'm kind of waiting. I'm saving some money for PC upgrades at some point. I'm sort of waiting for them to release the stupid video card, but even when it comes out, it's going to be kind of ludicrously expensive, so it's probably not worth it. But I don't know. Or at least I'll be future proofing to some extent if I do. What would it be called? 1080 Ti.
Oh yeah. That thing's coming.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe it's not.
Well, I think it's heavily rumored at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll see. Anyway, but I'd like to be able to get things running at 60 on my 1440p monitor, like I've managed with the previous generation of games.
Yeah, I think that there'll definitely be some games you can pull that off, and there'll be some games that you can't. I think even now there will be a few that will make that tricky.
On that hypothetical card.
Yeah, well, maybe not on the hypothetical card, but if you're running a regular 1080 right now,
yeah.
I mean, I've already hit some game. Well, the problem is in my case, I want to run everything at 120, and it's like then I definitely start seeing dips.
Yeah, so my screen doesn't support that. But I want to play Forza Horizon 3, I think, and that's supposed to run quite badly.
Yeah,
so I might need to brute force that a bit. And then on the games that do run well, I should be able to oversample with that card. Potentially, I could run them at 4K or whatever.
Sure, yeah, I can actually run oversampling on Battlefield 1 and Overwatch quite my 50%. It has a little slider in both games where you can say how much oversampling you want.
Yeah, the fact that that's in games now is cool.
Yeah. Like Overwatch defaults to 150% on my machine, and it still runs at 120 frames. So it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. You can stay. Okay. And I can do that with Battlefield as well, and still get 120 frames. But I turned that one down because it does that. Like I say I still get 120 frames. It does start to dip quite low at times in Battlefield if I have that turned on. But it's mostly good. I say quite low. It's sort of hitting the realms of perhaps dipping below 60 every now and then, so it's probably fine. But I know it's doing it, so it's like I might as well give the card a bit of a break.
Yeah,
I don't need to be running my card at max right now, so let's extend its lifespan. And in fairness, the anti-aliasing in Battlefield 1 is. It's got it has an option, like its highest setting is TAA, which I think I don't know what the anti-aliasing acronyms mean, but I think it's a form of temporal anti-aliasing where it's doing stuff between frames as well as in the frame itself to smooth everything out, and it's freaking amazing.
Yeah,
it's possibly the best anti-alias tech I've ever seen in action. It's really good. It's like the game is being oversampled. At 200%, but you just don't see it, and it's definitely. I went through the settings again just to be sure at one point to be like, "Are you sure you're not oversampling?" And it's like, no, this is just the anti-aliasing running, and it's really good.
Great. Well, that's the one to choose. What's it again?
TAA. It's called in Battlefield. But...
Okay. Like temporal anti-aliasing.
Well, they were talking about that, when they were talking about the PS4 Pro's upscaling tech, weren't they? That it's doing some temporal tricks to achieve near 4K looking graphics. And from people analysing that stuff, apparently that actually does a pretty good job. So maybe whatever that technique is can just be used on regular anti-aliasing. Maybe. I have no idea. I don't know what I'm talking about.
As is often the case.
Yeah. But it looks good. That's all I need to know. I think I'm done with news. I haven't really got a lot else, unless we want to talk about Watch Dogs genitalia, but I'm not sure I do.
Screw it. That's enough.
Let's
move on to what you've been playing. Zach, I want to know if this Planet Coaster thing is good. Tell me.
Games.
Yes. Well, we recorded a video of it, so that's important.
Okay.
Get that out there.
He was infused enough to drop everything. We're making a video.
Well, and also we weren't doing a podcast yesterday, so there was convenient time to do it.
So look forward to that in
a million years.
Well, no, you should upload that one next.
What you reckon I should just drop work on the, spoiler alert, forthcoming Collision Software videos?
Yes, you probably should.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah.
Do the timely video while it's timely.
I suppose.
Or slightly timely. Because it's still going to take a week, I'm sure. Because that's our upload schedule.
Yeah. And I'm away again a lot this next week, so I haven't got a great deal of time to work on this stuff. So maybe no video. Maybe no videos for you, ha?
No, got to put a video up. So yeah, we made a video.
Games to play. I need to play some games, not make videos about games. So anyway, Planet Coaster.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it a lot in the video, obviously, but mainly it's fine. And the thing that lots of people have been saying,
mainly it's fine. Raves, the Saladcasts, Zach Reverges.
There's an awful lot of Zach reviews that end up in it's fine.
Okay, sorry.
Lots of games have just been fine lately. That's the trouble. Because it's the same. It's exactly the same thing as lots of people have been saying about how it compares to City Skylines, where it's basically the same thing. And I can't remember what the other game that I also compared to City Skylines was recently, where it's just it's a good thing. It's a good replication of that game, but it's still not enough of an actual simulation or anything.
Project High Rise?
Oh yeah, that was it. So yeah, basically this is the age of games that are they're quality and cheaper and they're not AAA, but they still can't compare to the actual complexities that you think they should have at this point. It's the smaller smaller companies are getting too hung up on graphics or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. It just seems like no one's bothering to make better AI or more complex game systems. It's just like, as long as it looks good and there's a kind of a game there, then we're okay. And that's just how all games are now.
All games are just kind of games.
Yeah.
Not kinder, but ish games. Games-ish.
It's kind of disappointing. But apart from that, it's a good one of those. It's just like City Skylines. It's a quality product and has enough there for the price.
But it just doesn't push the boundary.
No. I mean, it is pretty much exactly like an old roller coaster tycoon game.
It is.
Apart from it's not grid-based, unless you want it to be. And even then, not really.
I mean, if it is just a roller coaster tycoon game, but it looks better, that's good, right? Surely. What's the problems with it? It's
good, but it's still like they could do more by now, surely. It's like the management aspect of it is exactly the same as the old roller coaster tycoon games. Well, not exactly. There's a tiny bit more to it, but it's just like, it's not, it's not really fully featured or anything. It's just like a thing in the background. It's like you just hire staff, you drop them in the park, they go around and do their things. And you can change how much you pay them, and you can train them to make them work faster, and then that's like it. There's no actual management of your staff, really, apart from having to pay them all to keep them happy. You can theoretically set patrol areas or whatever to keep them in certain areas of the park if you want. But there's so much more you could do with that. Like I was saying, one of the things you can do is you can choose when to have your park's opening time. And I'm not sure there's any point to that, apart from theoretically, if you're using park entry as your main money making instead of charging per ride, having a closing time then maybe makes sense because you just kick everyone out and then they will have to pay again when they come back.
But then the game doesn't really simulate the day cycle anyway. Everyone's just always in the park.
Well, unless I assume they do all leave when you simulate the. I'm not sure how fast, though, that would be the thing. Because I've heard some people suggesting that if you do use the opening times, it actually changes how the day-night cycle looks. Because by default, it only spends like an hour in night, and then it just sweeps back to daytime, and that's like the end of the month. Because the one day is equivalent to a month on the game calendar for financial reasons.
But then that raises so many questions. It's like, does the crowd in game actually then leave the park and all re-enter?
Well, yeah, that's the question. It's like, would it, if you have a closing time, is there then like a bunch of dead time where you're just waiting for everyone to leave before the game resets to morning again? Or do they just disappear? Or
yeah, and then it starts again. But then is that actually better than just not setting that and just having everyone stay in your park? Because it doesn't. No one. Well,
that's the question of like how much can you charge for the park entry, and will essentially the same number of people come back to the park on the next day?
It does make me question whether or not the actual crowd you see is actually in any way affecting what is going on with the simulation. Like are people actually just there's some statistical back end going, people are buying stuff. Roughly this much because there's this many people in the park, and
of course it's simulated. You can see them doing it.
But does that mean that's actually using that as part of driving the systems? If you know what I mean? Because if they have to model everyone leaving the park and then coming back in, it's like, is that making it harder?
That's not even you could do that incredibly easily if you just say what's the population of the park at closing time, create that many people on opening time.
Sort of, but then I don't know. I'm just sort of trying to figure out in my head what is the point in making it, because it just sounds like you're just going to be losing stuff all the time by putting the opening times in, because you're going to have more you're just introducing downtime that wasn't there before. I don't get it. It's got to be doing something.
I don't know. You've got to balance it by how much you charge for the park entry versus the rides, I'm sure. I want to try it at some point, apart from I'm just playing the scenarios, so every one of these so far has had per ride charging by default, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to fuck with it. I'm just going to... Whatever system it's already implemented in this half-completed part, I'll just continue. I won't go around and try and change the settings for every damn ride or anything. So yeah, still basically like this, exactly the same as Roller Coaster Tycoon systems in every other aspect. You still have the same ride stats panel where you can change max load and min load and like waiting times and how many trains there are on the track if you built it that way and all those kind of things.
I mean, the roller coaster design is pretty flexible now because it gives you full 3D control.
Yes, so you can fuck it up real badly because it's quite difficult to actually design roller coasters that are nice.
And the scenery is important now.
The scenery is kind of important.
You don't know how, but it's
in a vague kind of way. I have heard already of like some forum posts of just people just being like, "Oh, I just min-maxed it. I just built like 50 of the tiniest object on top of each other, and that gave me maximum cube scenery."
Right.
It's like, yeah, I'm sure that you could just do that if you wanted. But where's the fun in that? You want to make it look fancy, not just get the most points.
Same with City Skylines.
Yeah, exactly. It's like City Skylines isn't actually very hard, and people will put up with a lot. You don't necessarily have to worry about traffic, but you want to make it look good. And you want to play with the traffic system to make it look nice how the traffic drives around.
Well, we explored this in the video, but you actually do get quite a lot of control now on like creativity control, I suppose. Not exactly impactful in the actual gameplay.
No.
But you do get quite a lot of building tools.
Yes, you can
to just make things.
Make a lot of fancy things in little pieces. Put them all together. It's maybe slightly lacking in like... There's a lot of stuff, but there's still not enough, I guess. It's like there aren't that many regular ass rides. There's quite a lot of roller coasters, I guess, because it's called Planet Coaster. So that kind of puts the emphasis on the coaster slightly more. There's not quite as many regular rides as you would like, and as much as there are like a goddamn ton of wall pieces and stuff to build scenery with, there's still only like those 4 themes, and it's just like it's a sandstone wall. Have to invent fancy ways to use this sandstone wall to look slightly different because I've put it against something else.
Are you a bit worried that that's going to be a DLC thing?
Not really worried. I mean,
it doesn't really mechanically change the game, I suppose.
No. It's just whether I guess it's not really so much a problem of even the walls, but like the actual themed scenery parts, sometimes I feel like there's not enough of. Like when you're looking at like the fairy tale theme, and you've got for the buildings, you've got like, okay, there's the thatched roof set, and that's fine for building thatched roof cottage type things, and then maybe you can use some of these other wood tile roofs because they vaguely fit the theme as well. But then you've got like, oh, I can build this farmer's cart and a pile of hay, except there's only like one of those, and that's one of a kind of limited set of different things that you can use to theme an area. So once you've built one cottage and it's like garden, you're like, well, all these other cottages basically have to have the same stuff, just arranged slightly differently. So maybe inside a theme, I mean, of course, then you can just, if you want to, you could unlock the just basic shapes and start building stuff manually. And quite a few of the parts do have color options, so to some extent you can, mask the fact that you're using the same thing by coloring things differently. Like you can make this wood paneled wall a different color, so it looks actually different when it's set up against this other house.
That painted wood wall.
Yeah.
And I suppose there's nothing stopping you from like doing what most theme parks do, right? And just having all 4 themes in a single park.
No, yeah, exactly.
Just have themed zones.
Apparently, it would maybe kind of suck that you can't use all the different terrain colors in a single park. You're limited to like the biome of the park you're in. So you can't use like the desert red sand in a non-desert park, I guess.
Right, okay. That's a little, I can see that's a bit of a bummer.
But that could theoretically be changed quite easy, I imagine, maybe. I guess it depends like where it's loading the texture or something.
I suppose we didn't cover this in the video, but is there any weather simulation? Or...
I don't think there is. There's no way you can buy umbrellas.
Yeah, because I mean, I knew the old games always had rain in some capacity, but I just wondered if that would be an interesting thing they could expand on from the other games, right? Instead of just rain, it's like, high wind conditions. Oh no, we're going to have to close some rides and stuff like
that's another one of those things where it's like you could start going down that route with the management aspect, where it's like actually extending the systems beyond just the rides and making rides and keeping people entertained that way, to actually have to manage the park in more legitimate ways. I mean, the whole idea that you could like have a shop, but you actually need to be able to get the products into it somehow. Like you have to have service areas or something.
Well, I thought about what about you actually managing the park's car parking system and things like that? Because that's kind of a crucial element to park design.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely ways that you could make a more complicated roller coaster tycoon-esque game, but then games aren't like that, as we just previously discussed. Games are close simulations of things that they used to be, but not as good, or equally good, I suppose.
Do you think there's room in this though for them to put, if they put a Planet Coaster 2 out, would you expect it to expand in these ways? Though, like, is it enough of a platform?
Maybe. I mean, I'm just
actually, what are the chances of a Planet Coaster 2, I suppose, is the other side to this.
Well, I'm just interested to see what they're actually going to do after release now, because it definitely seems like they could quite easily. Well, the first question is whether they'll do DLC or whether they'll still put in some free updates post-launch.
Which would be cool if it was just aesthetic stuff. Like, even if it was just aesthetic stuff, like extra shops and extra brands, and brands are cool.
Couple of rides, you could probably, I don't know how much effort it takes to make those rides exactly, but they could quite easily just trickle those out, and you wouldn't have to necessarily pack them together or anything. Maybe, I don't know, but
then would they do mechanical updates?
Yeah, that's the question. It's like, I don't think mechanical updates apart from maybe balancing and making things that are already there work better
or less exploitable.
Yeah, but probably not major stuff like the things we were just talking about. But then if they did make another game, it's like, how many people actually want simulation games? There's the same problem with City Skylines and SimCity, where it's like, do people actually want that any longer?
Yeah, I do. You've beaten me to it there, because that was going to be my sort of last point. Is like, I wonder if they do the market research and then it all comes back as like, no one actually wants that game. All right, we'll just make Roller Coaster Tycoon.
That's why games suck now. All games are like this.
Risk averse.
No game is complicated enough any longer.
Well, in some respects, I wonder, like, with this coming out, like, so far away from a good roller coaster game, and I'm using the word "good" roller coaster game there specifically.
Yeah,
like that. It's that perhaps it's like a testing the water thing. But
that's the same situation that SimCity had, where it's also like, it's been ages since SimCity 4. Let's put out a new SimCity, and then they made a kind of shit. Well, they made a kind of shit SimCity, and then City Skylines made a sort of good SimCity, but it's just like, in both cases, not actually good enough simulations.
Yeah, but at least
for slightly different reasons.
At least you could argue that Skylines put forward the argument that, well, you know what, people still kind of want city games.
Sure, but I don't think that was an argument that had to be had, really, was it?
I don't know. There are some, like, it's a marketing thing. Sometimes, like you need to convince someone that a certain genre is still a thing. It's like, for a while, people argued that there was a bit of a dearth of good survival horror games, because they thought it had just gone a bit out of fashion. And now survival games and bad horror games are now sort of just everywhere. It's and I suppose, in a way, we don't really have, maybe. What was that Shinji Mikami game? Is it Shinji Mikami? The Resident Evil guy made another survival horror series that didn't sell, or didn't get reviewed too. Evil Within, that's it. He put that out, and it's like, there's still not many games like that in a way. So I don't know. I wonder if it's you got to convince a publisher thing that this genre is still a thing.
Well, apart from when it's like these games that aren't from a publisher, really. I mean, they sort of are. But like Frontier doing Planet Coaster, that's just self-publishing, I guess.
And it was kickstarted, I suppose, and it was riding this new I guess you call it a new nostalgia wave.
Yeah, I guess. But they were, and maybe they had a leak to back them up to some extent to let them do that. But with City Skylines, I guess that's Paradox, but it wasn't really Paradox. It was like this other team, and then Paradox just published it for them to some extent.
Well, it depends how much funding they gave the team. You just don't know, I guess.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like. I mean, that's why these games are these kind of not AAA, not full price kinds of things. That they don't, the big publishers don't care about those kind of games any longer, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm sort of with you. I hope there is an evolution to this stuff. In the same way that I look at Yooka-Laylee and I think, well, that's a Banjo-Kazooie game.
Yeah.
But also, I hope there's a bit more to it than that.
Yeah.
I hope they go somewhere with it. But history is not proving that people do at the moment.
No.
The nostalgia play is powerful, but not exactly what we as game enthusiasts are after.
No. I mean, we talked about it when we were talking about Civ and the AI problems, where it's just like maybe there's some kind of weird future where you could have like AI upgrade as DLC or like better game coding as DLC. It's just like that would be, if you had Planet Coaster where you could just have like a toggle in the menu where it's just like enable complexity. It's just like turn on all the extra stuff.
Even if it was like a difficulty mode, right? Like, so you play through easy, you build a nice city in easy mode or something, and then you go, well, okay, now let's go to medium simulation. See how you do there. And it's like, okay, no, I've mastered medium. Let's go to hardcore. But
the trouble is that's just like it's so much work because you're almost building another game.
Yeah, I see your point. You're kind of having to build 3 different models to some degree.
Yeah, because you have to make everything work at every level, essentially.
But it would be cool.
Yes,
that does seem like the ideal approach to, and it also gives the game a bit of legs, right? Because it's like you're sort of forcing players to pick things up in 3 different sessions in a way, and it's
well, I mean, in the best theoretical outcome would be that if you had it as like a DLC or an add-on or even just a menu toggle, would be that you'd get people who started on simple levels to actually try it, and then they'd learn to like more complex things.
I kind of think that a game like Civ might actually be a better place to do things like that, right? So it's like, in this game we're just going to turn off religion, and maybe that doesn't affect things too badly.
But the trouble when we were talking about the Civ AI was that AI is like a hidden thing. And that's the other trouble with this idea of being able to have complexity as an addition, is that there's still a lot of stuff that's behind the scenes, even if it is linked to game mechanics. Well, it's like, what are you paying for?
Right, yeah.
And, in the Civ AI case, if there was a DLC which was like upgrade the AI, how would you know it was working? How could you be sure that anything had actually changed?
So there has been a patch of it.
Yes.
Oh, has there?
Yeah, today or yesterday. So I've started a new game because they've patched the AI.
Oh.
Adjusted AI victory condition to focus, increase their competitiveness in science and tourism. Adjusted AI understanding of declared friendship. Adjusted AI approach to beginning and ending a war based on potential gain and loss. Brilliant.
All this stuff that theoretically they should have already done in Civ 5's AI. So it's like, why is it reverted to this poop mode?
Tuned AI usage of units that can move and shoot, that cannot move and shoot like catapults. Yeah. I think they've attempted to fix stuff, so that's good. So it seems good, but they don't seem to be madly denouncing me constantly like they were previously.
Yeah, that was always a thing. In Civ 5, it was one of the major things. It's like, the world hates me. It's fine. That
seems to be slightly improved. Reduce warmonger penalties in most instances. The last city conquered from a player now provides a heavy warmonger penalty.
What's the point in denouncing? Just out of curiosity, is something that only affected the AI?
No, you could denounce. I think denounce means after 5 turns you can declare war with less penalty.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if the AI denounce you, they're probably going to
declare a warning shot. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's called a formal war rather than like a surprise war.
Yeah, okay. There's a mechanic to that then, because basically, in my experience of Civ 5 was just basically all of the AI denouncing me constantly, despite me having very little contact with half of them.
Right.
And it's like, why? What have I done?
Well, at least this one does do like it often tells you why, like in brackets, what it is about you they don't like, which is influenced by the leader.
Okay.
And
that's something at least.
And they have like agendas, and then they have hidden that you can read, and then there are hidden agendas which you have to kind of unveil through espionage or diplomacy.
Those are the things that change each game, right? As well.
Yeah, the hidden agendas.
Hidden agenda is bigger than you.
But I still think like where you spawn is probably the most important thing.
Well, yeah. Don't get well. I suppose my old problems of being stuck with barbarians are like tenfold now.
Oh yeah, it's mega barbarian city. It's mental.
Mega barbarians.
They're all over the place, and they keep spawning for ages. They're pillaging my bloody capital. Anyway, never mind. They're annoying. But it does kind of force you to create a relatively strong military at the start, which is a bit weird, depending on, because you can't really like focus on. That's what's confusing me is like some of the like culture or whatever victories depend on having ideally quite a few wonders. There's quite a few wonders that are like ancient wonders that you can only really build near the start of the game.
Oh, interesting. So they actually era them off now.
I think they are eraed off to some extent. I think that's right. I don't think you can build the pyramids once you're in the modern age or something.
Do they obsolete as well when you hit different ages?
No. No, they still have their effect, and then they become like tourism spots or whatever.
Yeah, so what's this tourism thing? That sounds like a new system.
Well, that's how you do the culture victory, I think. You're supposed to get tourism, but I haven't actually done it. Because what does culture do, Zeg? It expands your borders.
Yeah,
but
cities.
Yeah, but it also attracts. Later on, it attracts to tourists. I think if you have more culture, so there's various things like great works of art and great works of music, etc.
Okay, wasn't culture in the previous game? Was that how you accelerated getting stuff on the civics or the social policies, whatever it was called?
Yeah. I think that's right. So I think civics is from that resource, just like the other tech trees from the science. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, but in terms of victory, like science victory is the spaceship, and the tourism is the culture victory. I think.
Interesting. It's an interesting choice.
But I haven't won that way yet, so I'm going to try and do that with this round because the enemy AI is less aggressive.
I don't think I've ever won any game of Civ across any platform other than a science victory or a domination.
Right.
I
haven't done science yet. So.
I think I did science once in Civ 2, maybe, back in the day. Because I always narrowly lost a science one when I tried to go for it. Friggin' Malaysia.
Damn you, Malaysia. Yeah. So I'll report back, but it does seem better, although the graphics seemed a bit fucked. So I need to, compared to before, there's some flickering going on, so I need to upgrade my... Well, number one, I need to update my graphics drivers, probably. And number two, it's now got a DirectX 12 mode, which I didn't try.
Ooh,
so maybe
nice.
I'll try that.
Yeah.
I'll update my graphics drivers and try the...
Maybe get a bit
DirectX
more metal
12
performance.
mode. Yeah, give that a go.
Not that was ever really the problem in Civ games. The problem with Civ games was always CPU load between turns.
Yeah, calculation performance.
Yeah. Well, you just have to wait.
Just have to wait.
Yeah.
Still generally having a good time with it then.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, it's good. But I think I got lucky in my first game in terms of spawn location. And this new one I think seems okay, but I tried one in the middle of last week and it was very bad. I was stuck between two very aggressive civs who had the bonuses for like the early game military units, like Sumerians, and they were just attacking me. And it's like, well, I can fend them off, but I'm not really growing my civs, so this is bad. And I was just kind of no good resources. I am finding it very annoying that it's quite hard to get the strategic resource. The key one in the mid game seems to be iron, but it's so hard to get iron. I mean, because you need a city next to iron, and that you can't see the iron resource until it doesn't appear on the map until you research it. Yeah, and at that point, like, yeah, I don't think it ever appears like just where you already have. You have to go out and get it, so, you know, it's very, very rare, and it's weird because all of the mid-game military units seem to depend on iron. Like, you can't build a knight or a swordsman without iron. Yeah. So it's really weird. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I mean, horses are bad enough, but at least you can see them from the start of the game.
Well, it always used to be in Civ 5 that there was a million too many horses, and then iron was still a problem. But once you know, like, what kind of terrain iron spawns on, you just know that you need to occupy a few of these key types of area and be like, this is probably where iron's going to spawn.
Maybe get some mountains nearby. Maybe.
Yeah, but I've got plenty of mountains, but it's just like, and quarry type places and stuff, but like iron seems to be a big problem. Like on the whole continent, there only seems to be like a few squares, a few hexes.
There was never enough iron in Civ 5 either, really.
But it just means, so I'm currently playing as the Romans or whatever, and I think I made the right choice because it has a unique legion unit that replaces the swordsman, and I don't seem to need iron in order to build them, so that solves that. Right. But otherwise, that's quite annoying.
Yeah, iron was always my biggest problem in Civ 5. I never had enough. I could never quite crank out what I needed to.
It seems like they kind of needed to balance it better, but I think one of the reasons that iron might have been like that was because it kind of forced you to choose between using the iron on frontline units or ranged units, because like trebuchets needed iron as well, I think.
Right.
So you either had to use your iron to make the frontline attackers or use them to make the ranged guys, depending on.
I mean, that's fine. I don't mind like having a trade-off, but it seems to me that you can easily go through a game without getting iron in time before you don't need it anymore, like during the.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe that was why horses were always such a thing, because the horse units survived slightly longer into the Iron Age.
Yeah, but the hardcore medieval unit is the knight, and you need horses and iron to frickin' build those, because you need to make plate armor or whatever, I guess. So it's like, I don't know how you're supposed to deal with that, but never mind.
I was the horse king of Japan.
You were?
I was the horse king. I had 1 billion horses.
I didn't really bother with horses. I just went for the melee dudes, just kept upgrading them. But I guess the horses have a lot more movement.
I think there comes a point where the horses don't have an upgrade path, right? Yeah. Because you can't just turn them into a tank. And it's
Oh, you could in my game.
Oh, could you? Is that a thing now? Okay.
I think maybe can, but there's like a zone in between where there's nothing really that happens.
Yeah. Oh, maybe right. Maybe
then it's a long way before you get
right. There's no technological jump that they could upgrade to.
Well, in my one, it went from. I think it's reasonable because in 6 it goes from knight to like cavalry, as in like, you know, you can imagine.
Like musket cavalry?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Then to tank, I think. Yeah, and then there's a tank and then a modern tank. So there's 2 levels of tank. There's like a World War II tank and then a main battle tank.
Cool.
That's the heavy cavalry, and then I think light cavalry turns into a helicopter, which makes sense.
Does it?
Yeah, because they're air cavalry. That's what they were called in Vietnam or whatever. They were the cavalry.
Just attach a giant propeller to a horse.
Yeah. So in terms of like, it sort of makes sense. It's quite nicely done. The support one is quite weird. I don't really understand the support class because the first support unit is battering ram, which like I guess gives you you can't. I don't think you use it to directly attack cities. I think it just gives better attack power to your units that are surrounding a city, which I guess makes sense. But anyway, it turns into like support classes, like a medic later on, and all kinds. So it's kind of weird. So I haven't really used that one, but
the jumps are a little unpredictable then.
Well, it's like the use of the thing changes rather than it just getting more kind of powerful, and which is a bit weird. Yeah,
weird. I wonder if that means there's some use in keeping some of the older ones about, or do they obsolete? Or
they're probably not worth it. Where some of them are fairly clear, like catapult is then like a bombard, and then you've got a field cannon type thing, and then a rocket launcher.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I haven't done much naval stuff. I haven't figured out how to build a harbour, even though I'm sure I've got a city on the coast. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe it just doesn't have the right tile available. It's weird because I've got fishing boats and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, it's a bit. You used to always have to. Well, I don't know. It's probably completely different now with the actual wide city thing, but it's at least in 5, it had to be an adjacent to a proper water tile, not just one that might have a little bit of I don't know, overlap because of how it was smoothing the edges.
Yeah,
like a proper water tile, and then boats would just come out your city somehow.
Yeah,
just crash through the walls into the water.
And they've also fixed various things in the UI. It's the AI and the UI. Because the UI looks nice, but it's got issues. But I think they're gradually sorting it out. One of my problems was I couldn't figure out by looking at a unit what class it was. As in, is this a cavalry? I know. I mean,
is it compared to the previous horse gen?
Yeah, what's the upgrade path? Basically, what's this going to turn into once I research it? And I couldn't figure it out from looking. Because it tells you what the class is. It used when you go to build it. Once it's built, I couldn't tell, but now you can right click on the unit portrait and it takes you to the Civilopedia or whatever and explains it there.
That's still not great. I thought that panel in the bottom left was supposed to be to help you identify it. So when you selected a unit, that bottom left panel should give you everything you need.
It's the bottom right now.
Okay.
It has the tiniest XP bar that is almost impossible to see, and I only knew it was there because I saw a post on Reddit. It's literally 1 pixel high, I think. It's ridiculous. Anyway, but yeah, I shall continue with that. Still enjoying it. I think it's probably will improve, has improved, and will improve.
Has and will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should hope so. It's the Firaxis, I'm not sure, has had a particularly great run of late. What with Beyond Earth and then XCOM 2 being sort of okay, but not quite blowing up the charts like people expected.
Well, at least this is selling well, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. Civ's always a big thing, so I'm glad it's in their interest to keep it a big thing, right? And the only way to do that is to make good on maybe the things they haven't quite achieved with their last 2 products.
Yeah. Shall report back.
Good. Make sure Norway gets their what for.
You played anything else, Zeg?
Not really. I mean, I can't even remember what I was playing before. Presumably more Factorio and stuff. More Rocket League. All the usual things.
All the usuals.
All the usual.
I don't think I've got anything else. No.
I really should have been playing Overwatch, given that Sombra is out now. But I haven't, so let's not talk about
that. Okay.
In fairness, like I said to Zach before we started, Zach should have been playing Overwatch because it's been free this weekend.
Yeah, but he has a mysterious aversion to Overwatch.
I forgot that it was free this weekend.
It's really good, though. It's really good. And they've already sort of hinted that, again, much to our sort of slight annoyance, that perhaps the next thing they do after Sombra is going to be another hero, not a new level. It sounds like they've already got one new hero almost ready to go. Early next year release date is what they were saying, but no one knows anything about it, so could be interesting. And each new hero edition does always mix up the game a bit. Like when Anna came into play, basically no one uses Widowmaker anymore. Or it's very rare to see a Widowmaker, because as soon as you bring one into the game, everyone's like, "Oh no, really?" It's like one of the problems with Overwatch is that it's the sort of meta of it is really inflated by the community. It's like it's one of those things where it just takes one person like to say, "Oh, Widowmaker's bad," and then no one uses her, and then everyone starts complaining when everyone tries to use her. And it's like
it takes one person to say that. It's just once enough people have said it, then everyone just. It was like how I always said about the van in Rocket League, where it's like enough people said it was bad, so no one used it to know that it didn't really make that much difference, and they just kept saying it was bad.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter how many people say it, but it's like it sort of starts to spread, and it's like when at the level the majority of people play it, that's really not a problem. Widow's still effective at times. She's still the most powerful sniper. If you just want to do sniping, I don't get it personally.
It's more like a problem of the old.
She's not as flexible as the others. Maybe
not quite a Team Fortress problem, but it's similar where because you only have a certain number of people on your team, it's just like if you're wasting the sniper with the worst sniper, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, she's clearly the best for killing things, but if people want to play that style of sniper, now everyone plays Anna, and it's and that's more accepted. And I actually really do enjoy playing as Anna. I've got a lot better at it, and she's quite fun. I do like the weird the weird mix of heal sniping and attack sniping. It's quite fun.
Why everyone thinks that it's better than Widowmaker. It's not just one. It's basically the same as playing default sniper in Team Fortress versus any of the upgraded guns. It's like as soon as you have more things you can do, it starts to become more appealing to your teammates. Because it's like, they can support me in other ways.
But I have still played games where there's been a talented Widow, and it's been a real bane to a real problem.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's also the same as Team Fortress, where it's just like, if you have someone who's really good at sniping, even with the default sniper rifle, they'll just destroy everyone.
So it's just like, I just want to say to the team, whenever someone says, "Oh, please not Widow," it's like, give them a chance. Let's see if they're any good first, and then we can... tell them to switch later if they're bad.
Yes, that's not how that works. If you've already lost, and then you're just annoyed.
There's always time to switch in Overwatch. Like you've got to, just go die and then sort yourself out. That game's still great. But yeah, I will. Next time I will have definitely played some more, and I'll talk about Sombra because she sounds like she mixes up the game quite a bit. I guess the only real major thing I have to talk about is Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight.
I started playing Shovel Knight. Not quite sure what drove me into it. I think I was after something a little bit smaller between bigger games, I suppose, and I didn't really have one from this year in my. There's smaller games I could have been playing from this year, but I would have had to have bought them. So I thought I better go back and play one that someone actually gave me. So I'm playing Shovel Knight.
Sweet.
And it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's like it totally embodies that NES era of platformers.
Yeah.
Like it goes all in on that, but clearly without all of the deficiencies that those games had. So you get proper widescreen support. You get the color palette, while it does some sort of emulation of that stuff, it's clearly not totally limited in a NES way as to what's going on. And you classically don't get sprite flicker, so it looks clean. But they do the cool thing that a lot of old NES games did when it scrolled to a new screen. Like you hit the scroll panel and scroll to a new screen, and then all sprites would disappear during the scroll and then reappear when the scroll's finished. Okay. So there are some little touches in there that I sort of think, oh, that's nice. They did a NES thing there, and all of the music is. I think all the music is probably would have actually been possible to come out of a NES. They've approached it with all the right limitations as to what they could pull off, and it sounds like an authentic soundtrack. And it's actually really good. Like the Shovel Knight soundtrack is pretty great if you're into your chip music.
Which you are, and Zeg, probably.
It's quite nice, especially the opening levels music in particular is quite catchy in a sort of Mega Man way, and it's pretty great. Some of the humor is pretty great as well in the wording and stuff like that. Yeah, that everything is presented in text boxes, but they do it in a sort of knowing way. Occasionally playing on some tropes, and there's one character that speaks in puns constantly. It does dumb little things, and but it does all of them pretty well. In a strange way, I don't actually know what more to add to that. I mean, sometimes it has some annoyances, like the checkpointing system is sometimes feels a little harsh. So that there are clearly defined checkpoints in each level, normally 5 of them, I think, and then you have to make your way through the next section of the game to hit the next checkpoint to get there. And sometimes those sections can be quite long and then end with a really tricky bit that you can't quite do, and then you have to replay up to that point and then attempt the tricky bit again and then fail. But then it has this other mechanic which is devious, to say the least, whereas when you die, some gold comes out of you in flying pouches, and you lose quite a chunk of gold each time you die. But you can go get that gold back if you go back to where you died, which is sometimes impossible because they'll appear in places you can't reach, or they'll like you fell down a death hole and they don't quite come back far enough that you can reach them. But then other times, if you're trying to get your way out of a secret room and you die coming out of the secret room, it's like, oh, do I really want to go back to that tricky secret room puzzle to just get my gold back, or shall I just carry on? And eventually, after a while, you just sort of can't be faffed with the gold too much anyway, and you're just like, well, I'll just carry on. So it's minor. And also, if you get the fish, if you have the fishing rod, you can sometimes fish your gold back, which is pretty hilarious. just sit on the side of a platform, drop your fishing line, and it's like, yep, I got my gold back. Great, neat little trick. Top tip: fish for gold.
Top tip.
It's got some really funny sequences involving a giant fish. It does all the sort of tropes, I guess, of like level design as well. Like there'll be one in a field, there'll be one underwater, there'll be one in a cave. It's very much filling those old archetypes. Although I will say the underwater level with Treasure Knight is by far the worst level I've come across so far. So most of them are pretty good, but that one was just tricky in all the wrong kind of irritating ways. Like there's one screen when you come up on screen, if you're climbing up a ladder, and naturally as you climb up a ladder you push up, and then the screen scrolls, and then you continue to push up. But then if you're continuing to push up, you basically just immediately walk into an enemy, and it's like, and then you'll fall off the ladder, and then you'll fall down to the screen below, and then you get back on the ladder, and then you go back up, and it's like,
what?
And it's just like, that's just that, they kind of screwed up their enemy placement on that screen, and they do some multi-screen stuff in places where it's like, okay, I've got to get on this platform, and then I go up here, but then if I screw that up, I'm going to fall down the screen, so I've got to climb all the way back up. But if I do that fall, I might land on some spikes, which are insta-death, and some of that stuff is a bit poop. But conveniently, it's mostly just that level where most of the poop comes from.
Okay, so just be careful of that one.
Yeah, the Treasure Knight level, not my favourite thus far. But yeah, it's solid. I think I forget how much time I've put into it thus far, about maybe 4, maybe 5 hours. So I'll probably have it beat in 8, I reckon. Mm-hmm. And it's a solid little game.
Well, that's good to hear.
The one thing I was mildly irritated about is that I kind of wanted to play it with my arcade stick just to be pointless.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be working out for you.
It should just pick up as an X input device, but for some reason it totally fails, and I just couldn't get it to work. Like, it just doesn't recognize it at all. So it should be fine. And even the Yacht Club Games website and stuff, they've put some significant efforts into. They very clearly say, hey, if you've got a weird and wonderful controller, we want Shovel Knight to work with it. And they post up these databases of settings that I think are designed to work with Big Picture, that you could, in theory, plug into Big Picture to get things to work. But I just haven't been able to figure out what on earth they're talking about, whether or not that feature is missing, or that, I think it's like it was pulling from Steam controller stuff. Like, so you can customize how Steam controller works for every game, but like I think there was a way maybe at some point, and maybe not now, that you could that extended to customizing any controller you had plugged into Big Picture, which is a kind of cool idea. And these were like the setting strings you could plug into it or put in an ini file somewhere to make your controller work. But it's just I just can't figure out how to do it. Spent way too much time just looking at files and reading cryptic posts, and it's just like, you know what, sod it, I'll just play it with an Xbox controller. But I did want to use the stick because everything it's digital control. There's no analog control in that game, so I thought this would be appropriate and kind of fun in a silly way. But yeah, can't do it, so that's a bit of a bummer. But a good game. Not really the game's fault. Maybe. Shovel Knight. Worth a punt.
Worth a shovel.
Shovel!
Shovel!
It's weirdly not enough shoveling in that game for a game called Shovel Knight. It's just sort of your weapons are shovel, and you can occasionally dig gems out of the floor, but it's not a lot of digging. I want to see more shovel animations going on. It's just funny that he's a knight and has a shovel, I suppose.
Makes no sense, but
nope, none at all.
I'll do.
Shovel. That's all I got really. I didn't really, like I said, I didn't really play anything while I was out and about for work and stuff. Just watching films. So I ain't got much.
Didn't play on 3DS.
No, well, as I said, I went to see films, and by the time I'd eaten and got back, I basically did my Picross dailies and went to sleep. Like, still playing Pokemon Picross. I guess that's the thing.
Yeah, I finished.
Oh, did you?
I guess I finished it, sort of. I haven't finished all the alt world stuff, but those are kind of annoying. I think at some point, it might come to the point in the alt world missions where you just have to cheat. Just take a picture of it and then just draw it in, because you get the missions where it's just like, don't set any Pokemon, and then it's just like, oh, now I have to do this properly, but I'm nowhere near fast enough, especially with the more complicated alt world rules.
Yeah, oh yeah, because it has those blocks that span multiple columns.
Yeah,
is that its trick? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still miles away from maxing that game out for free, so that's fine. I can carry on with it. Yeah. So if you did, as I assume you've done this all without spending a buck, right?
Yep.
Nice. It's free to play, being actually free to play.
Well, yes, sort of. Yes. You're willing to play it every single day for like at least a minute.
I quite like that little 2-minute challenge or whatever. That's sort of, I don't know. It's sort of I use it at times just to distract me or wake me up or something like that. It's kind of, I guess it's my brain training thing. Yes. I quite like just having it there to just knock out for the day. Yeah, so Picross. I don't know. Are you tempted by, what was it, the Picross 3D 2?
Maybe one day that will get cheap somehow.
I mean, I guess do they put out a cart version, or is it a download? Well, I mean, everything's a download, I guess.
Yeah, I don't actually know. But even then, the download might theoretically be cheap, because I guess it's not strictly Nintendo first party, is it?
No. I mean, Nintendo publish it, I guess, but they don't own Picross as a thing, I don't think.
They don't own the entire concept of Picross, no.
Well, no, but the name Picross, I mean. But yeah, I don't think the IP is theirs. And it's definitely not developed in-house, is it? It's got another team on it.
Yeah, so there's definitely potential for that to randomly be cheap one time.
Yeah, catcher. Although, how often do you check the Nintendo store?
Some fairly often. I mean,
no, really? Okay. Do you want those Nintendo points for checking the store?
It's just like whenever I've played sufficient Picross in a session, but then I still haven't shut my 3DS and I'm looking at the home screen and I'm like, oh yeah, the store. I should probably look at that for a second and see if anything's happening. Which it inevitably isn't.
Yeah. I still think to myself, maybe I'll if was it the 3DS version of Star Fox goes on sale, then maybe I'd pick it up. But then with the Switch coming, it's just like a bit of me's just like, do I put any money into the 3DS now? Like at all? Is it just over?
My games that you can steal.
Well, yes, there's plenty of that.
Still plenty of those games to play.
Yeah, there's a lot of theatre of them to play. Because apparently you can play that for 1 billion hours.
Sure can.
If last year of Zach's activity was anything to go by. Like 1 billion. I think we might have to wrap this up early. I got nothing else.
Yeah, fair enough. Bit of a short one, and then get your Planet Coaster video content.
Chief beef.
That was extremely loud. You're going to have to edit that slightly.
No, it was exactly right.
I don't think it was.
I can see it. I can see that wave.
Okay, and so that will be consider that part of our What You've Been Playing segment for the week.
Yeah.
When it comes out. And we'll catch you for a full-on podcast in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, so maybe by that point, I guess, well, I'll probably play Titanfall.
Stuff will have happened.
So, yeah.
Indeed. We will have more to say. So catch you then, listeners.
Yippee!
Bye.
Bye.